This is the second of 4 videos covering material in the 2016 Conference Agenda Report, or CAR for short. This video covers the CAR essays titled The Future of the WSC and the Role of Zones, Our Service System, and NA Literature and Our Primary Purpose. Each essay provides background information and context that will help members to give informed input and prepare delegates for discussion at the World Service Conference. The Future of the WSC and the Role of Zones. At the last World Service Conference, there were a series of discussions about the future of the conference. No decisions were made at that conference, and we plan to schedule time at WSC 2016 to continue the conversation. The question is, how can the conference best meet the needs of NA now and in the future? The WSC is large and expensive. We are getting to the point where effectiveness will be jeopardized. The World Board has, at previous conferences, offered a number of recommendations: moratoriums to slow growth, a downsized WSC based on state, nation, province participation, or elimination of alternates, or no automatic funding for regions. These ideas have not been supported or gained enough traction to affect change. And so, at WSC 2014, we asked the participants to do the visioning, and they were very clear about the reasons we gather as a conference: vision and purpose, legal responsibility, oversight, global coordination, sharing best practices, community building. But the question remains, who needs to be present to fulfill this purpose? At the last conference, we heard strong support for zonal seating, though not necessarily zones as they are currently configured. Is that really where we are going? We are not certain. We are trying to facilitate the process of having this discussion and ultimately making a decision of some kind. The final Planning Our Future session at WSC 2014 asked conference participants to answer the question, where do we go from here? Many participants suggested forming a work group, which we did, and doing more to inform members about the issues. We are releasing a packet of information along with this CAR that we hope will give members more information about the 2 related conversations taking place under the Planning Our Future umbrella. 1, the role of zones in relation to their member communities, and 2, the future of the WSC as a sustainable and effective body. There are 3 pieces in the Planning Our Future packet we are releasing. 1, role of zones workshop data. 2, zonal survey data. 3, the future of the WSC PowerPoint video. All of these items are available on our website at www.na.org/future. We are hoping these tools will help you discuss these issues within your region and better prepare delegates for WSC 2016. We need to continue this discussion at WSC 2016. Are we headed toward zonal seating? That's what we think we heard at the last conference. Is that what you heard? Is that what you support? What will it take for us, a conference, to negotiate a workable solution? We need workable criteria for seating at the WSC, whether that consists of regions or at some point, zones. If we seat any additional regions at this conference, we will need to create space. How do we make more possibilities available? As a board, our main concern is that the conference can come to agreement about some vision that meets a threshold of sustainability and effectiveness. Our service system. At the last conference, 3 similarly phrased motions related to the service system passed. 1, to agree in principle to move in the direction of a service system that contains group support forums, another about local service conferences, and a third about local service boards. All three of the motions passed by more than 2/3 after being amended to add the phrase "to be included in the Guide to Local Service" as an option along with our current service units. We think a revision to Guide to Local Service could be extremely helpful. However, we don't believe we are ready to undertake a successful revision yet. We need service material that describes what is actually working for us. We would love to be able to revise a Guide to Local Services to include material about better supporting our groups, holding planning assemblies, utilizing projects, budgeting, and making decisions through consensus, for instance. We plan to focus further in the cycle ahead on capturing those experiences. We have begun to have web meetings focused on aspects of the service system project, and we plan to have more during the cycle ahead. We have also reorganized the Local Service Resources webpage. This is a place you can share everything from recovery group formats to consensus-based decision-making guidelines to public service announcements. www.na.org/local resources. The need for relevant applicable service material applies to all our best practices, not just the ideas from the service system project. We would like to collect tools and ideas about what is working currently with area and regional service as well. Another idea that came out of the service system project that we don't want to lose sight of is working together within a state, nation, or province to provide services. Having a statewide or nation or province-wide NA presence can make it easier for people to find us and make it easier for us to communicate with systems such as state or federal prisons. It can also help us focus on growing NA throughout the whole state or nation and not just delivering services where we already are. We still believe these are good reasons to collaborate on SNP services, regardless of where one stands on seating. We are happy to support any efforts to get shared services off the ground. NA literature and our primary purpose. This conference cycle has seen a renewed effort on the part of a small but persistent minority of members to expand the distribution of illicit literature. For many of us who were members of NA in the early 1990s, this is a memory of a painful chapter in NA's history. Lack of unity diverted us all from our primary purpose and drove many members or potential members away from NA. In response to the recent resurgence of illicit literature distribution, we have created 2 bulletins about this issue over the past year. We encourage you to read them both. You can find them at www.na.org/FIPT. The conflict seems to have been resolved in the 1990s when the World Service Office was recognized as the sole authority with the right to publish and distribute NA literature by group conscience expressed at the WSC. These years also produced an introductory guide to NA and inspired the Fellowship Intellectual Property Trust, FIPT, to be adopted in 1993. The Fellowship Intellectual Property Trust is an expression of the hard-won experience and decisions by the Fellowship in response to many of the same issues that seem to be resurrected today. Its purpose is to ensure that NA's property is held in trust for all of NA and kept safe for members yet to come. Many of our members who understand the history of this issue have asked why we have not gone back to court. Our experience shows that the people who perpetuate this behavior do not care what the courts say. Lawsuits are painful and expensive. We would prefer to see NA's human and financial resources used for other purposes. We believe that only NA members, by their actions, can actually stop this activity. Our literature is priced to help provide services and support, including literature, to those who need it. NA made a decision long ago, and supported it since, to stay unified as a worldwide effort, and not to decentralize as other fellowships have. Today, as a truly international fellowship, protecting the fidelity of NA literature and supporting services through literature sales has become increasingly complicated and, perhaps, more important than ever. When the FIPT was adopted in 1993, World Services served 16,575 meetings, over 88% of them in the US and Canada. We published IPs, booklets, the basic text, and the new Just for Today in English, and about 100 translated titles. We provided a whopping $4,772 in free literature to H&I. By contrast, today NA meets 63,000 times per week in 77 languages in 131 countries. Only 45% of NA meetings are now in the US and Canada. We publish almost 1,000 translated titles, with something new being produced almost every week. And we were able to provide $535,599 in free or subsidized literature in the last fiscal year. We do not believe that NA World Services is responsible for all this amazing growth, but we do believe that NA World Services has played a part, along with the tireless efforts of members, groups, areas, regions, and zones around the world. The availability of literature in members' own language and culture definitely has an impact. And the list of what World Services provides to make that happen is extensive and often expensive. We form work groups with members from around the world to create drafts for the fellowship to review and guide revisions. In 1993, the majority of World Services committees were made up of primarily U.S. members, funded through their own efforts or by their regions. Funding was provided only for the chair and vice chair of the committee and for mailings. Today, all members of work groups are funded by World Services in order to ensure equitable access and more diverse membership participation. In order to protect the fidelity of our message, we provide professional translation assistance for many languages to create drafts that are worked on by local translation committees in communication with our translation department. And then we work with the various legal systems to ensure that NA literature and trademarks are copyrighted and protected around the world. And those are just the efforts to get a piece of literature produced. The other efforts that NA World Services provides on the fellowship's behalf are extensive and often not things that most members are aware of. We encourage you to take a look at our reports, such as the January NA Way, or the annual report that summarizes some of the fellowship support activities this year. Literature sales fund much of this important work. The NA Fellowship has expressed its conscience regarding our literature. Approved publications should remain with NA World Services. The decision supports the collective priorities of our worldwide fellowship. NA groups and members have the right and the responsibility to demand that those who would reprint or modify NA literature refrain from doing so. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. We must work together to safeguard the integrity of our life-saving literature. We hope this video has helped in your discussion of this material. Please note that there are 3 other videos that summarize the other contents of the CAR. You can download a copy of the conference agenda report online at www.na.org/conference or order a hard copy from NA World Services. If you have any questions, please reach out and let us know. worldboard@na.org.